Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending where on the globe you are. Hi, I'm Insane Writer. Thanks for joining the stream, the Budget Gamer. Let me get started by apologizing for running late. I ran into some issues with my internet and I finally got it up and going. And here I am, ready to do some live streaming of my latest release video that's coming out at midnight tonight, my local time. I'm on the west coast of the United States. And the video is about a deck that I've been watching climb up the charts, the tournament charts. Each week I go out to TCG, Limitless TCG, and take a look at what tournaments are being held, considering, trying out a few myself. And I like to just watch the trends. And for those of you who follow my channel know that I release a weekly What's Hot in the Meta, where I usually take the top 3 tournaments and figure out what the hottest deck is, and then I usually stream some content about it, show what the build looks like, and kind of go over a basic deck play strategy. Well, I've been noticing one deck slowly creeping its way up, and I actually noticed it won a couple of tournaments, smaller tournaments. Now, when I say smaller tournaments, it's still like could be 50 players, 100 players, couple hundred players, where the larger tournaments are around 1,500, 800, 900, 1,000 players. But I have noticed this one deck kind of sneaking its way up, and so I thought I would stream a little live content playing the deck ahead of time of the video that's coming out here in about 3.5 hours. Let's go ahead and I will jump over. So it's an Articuno EX. It's a water deck, and it's a combination of Articuno EX, and the other key part of that is Greninja. I'm sure some of you have already seen and read, and you may probably already playing this deck. It's definitely got some potential to keep up with the meta. It requires a bit of luck. As does almost any deck that's built on a card or cards that have coin flips. But, some would say, they don't like to build decks based off of coin flips. But this particular deck has Misty in it. And Misty is quite a powerful card. I see a lot of conversation saying that Misty is an overpowered card. That, at the worst case, Misty does nothing. You flip a tails to start and nothing happens. But in the best case, Misty can literally change the game for you, power up a Pokemon, and off to the races you go, literally wiping out the opponent pretty quickly. So it's a card that there's no real detriment to it. You either get nothing out of it other than taking up a deck spot, or you get a lot out of it. And so a lot of people have been taking advantage of the coin flips with Misty. And I know that early on, there was even a way to make the coin flips go to your advantage, and you'd see people getting 9 heads in a row, 15 heads in a row. Now, that particular bug or exploit's been removed, but, it's still not uncommon to see. I know every time I face someone with a Misty, they seem to get 2, 3, or 4 heads in a row. I'll be playing it tonight. I won't be surprised if it doesn't work for me. That's my typical luck. But let me go ahead and run through the deck build real quick, and then I'm just going to dive right in. So Articuno EX, 2 of those. 2 Feroki and 2 Frogadiers. Those are the 2 pre-evolutions that get to your Greninja. Greninja is a great card because it can attack from the bench, and it can either add additional damage to whatever your primary Pokemon in the active spot is attacking, or it can actually work on the opponent's bench, which is a real great strategy, especially if the opponent's retreating from damage, or perhaps they're building up energy, or they have to go through a 2-stage evolution. Great card to really soften up the bench, the back lines. So in addition to those Pokemon, it has 1 potion, 2 X speed, 1 Pokeball, 2 Pokeball, 1 red card, 2 Professor's Research, 2 Misty, of course, and 2 Sabrina. Now, the one thing I'll comment on this is the red card. I personally have not much of a fan of the red card. So in the larger deck battles, like regular TCG, where you have a lot more cards, I think red card, that type of functionality can be very effective. But in a 20 card deck where you're going to start off with, you know, a number of cards right out from the gate, you're going to play some. Hopefully you've got a professor's research coming your way, maybe a Pokeball. The remaining cards, you know, there's, you know, it's not really, I don't think it's buying you a whole lot. And I know there's a lot of streamers and people on Reddit who are going through the, you know, statistical probability of how well or not well, in this case, a red card works. And I think the math is really kind of showing. If I was to boil it down, red card probably, if you play it right, is probably only helpful maybe about 25% of the time. Probably 50% of the time it does nothing for you. And maybe the other 25% roughly is negative for you. So if I have a card in my hand that 75% of the time is not going to come out advantageous to myself, I'm not really interested in using it. So I actually kind of feel a red card is taking up a little bit too much, taking up deck space that it doesn't need to. But enough on red card. I'll actually be releasing a video on Saturday about the red card. But tonight's really focuses on Articuno EX and Greninja. So I'm going to just go ahead and dive in, play some matches here. Let me get jumped over real quick. All right, so I'm just going to continue with the verses. Hopefully everyone's finished their 5 wins and finished all their matches and finished all the missions that we needed to. Exciting stuff. And of course, I'm sure you've probably heard that we've got a new mini expansion coming out next Tuesday. A lot of exciting cards coming our way, including a Mew EX. That one looks really powerful, at least a meta changer. Aerodactyl EX looks pretty cool as well. 80 cards in total, and there's a couple videos I have on the channel, short videos on that as well. I'll be going into more depth and detail about the expansion next week. But with all that said, let's go ahead and dive in. Articuno EX Greninja. I'm going to go ahead and run some battles here. Let's see how I do. And I know most of my subscribers and followers are overseas, so feel free to say hi or type something in. And let's see how the game's going to treat me tonight. All right, so Articuno EX. So the strategy on this deck is to get Articuno active and engaged in attacking early as you can. So I've got an Articuno and a Feroki. I'm going to place those on the bench. I'm sitting on the red card, not my favorite card. I've got Misty in hand, so that's going to be great, and Professor's Research. So I'm actually off to a good start. It will probably come down to how the coin flips treat me, how this deck will play out or not. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place this other Articuno EX down. I only have 4 basic Pokemon, so this one's pretty much going to pull up the Feroki. Oops. My system's lagging. Okay, hold on. All right. That was my red card. It actually looked like a Pokeball. Wow, that was really odd. I've been having technical issues tonight, so... All right, so with that said, I can't really... that kind of goofed me up completely. All right, I'll hit end turn. So I'm going to go ahead and work for my Misty next turn. Now, with 2 Articuno Feroki up, hopefully I can get my Greninja going. It looks like I'm up against a Psychic deck. I see a Jinx. I know Jinx is becoming more popular. Good wall to start with Mewtwo. It's unfortunate that particular Mewtwo card needs 4 energy. I have it in my Mewtwo EX Gardevoir deck. And that's always... I love it for a wall. I'm going to go ahead and put my Frogadier down. I'm going to go ahead and play my Misty. Uh-oh, my system's lagging really bad. I have a feeling that it lagged over to the other card. It did. Oh, no. Well... Yeah, so my technical problems are still kind of plaguing me. That's very unfortunate. I will have to see if I can get... I'm going to go ahead and end that turn. So what would have happened there was I would have had the 2 energy plus the 1 if I wouldn't have had such a laggy system here. And I could have started off with a blizzard right away. So you can see the functionality of the deck. I just need to get my my system here responsive. Just waiting for it to come back to me. So let's see what comes back, what my opponent's doing. Okay, it just came back now. Well, okay, so let me see if I can try this again. Get Misty to land on the right. Now, of course, let's see if the coin flips treat me nice. So the whole idea of this particular deck is to get Articuno powered up and get you started right away. So I think what I'm going to do right now is that Mewtwo with 120s up there. I'm going to go ahead and put this other energy on my Articuno. With that, I'm going to go ahead and, assuming this lag doesn't kill me, I'm going to attack. And Articuno also does damage to the bench Pokemon, which also has a nice synergy with Greninja, who can also basically do the same thing. So, all right, so hopefully I can get through this match and shake out the bugs of this lag that's definitely taking care of business. It's kicking my butt right now. All right, so I got Greninja that just showed up. From there, I'm going to go ahead. We got Mewtwo up front. I'm going to go ahead and assign another energy to Articuno. Get that backup Articuno ready to go. I'm going to do Water Shuriken. Let's see if I can not lag my way through this. I'm going to go ahead and work on Kirlia, because we know what's probably coming from there is a Gardevoir. I'm going to go ahead and attack with my Blizzard. So I'm not off to a bad start other than the lag really taking me out. But the whole idea is Misty's actually come through. 2 coin flips, 2 energies out of both of them. And the whole idea is you want to kind of get through this match early before the heavy hitters come out and try to wrap things up quickly. All right, so looks like Mewtwo EX has received a point of energy. We've got Jinx, who's got 1 dark and 1 psychic energy. My opponent's thinking a little bit, or perhaps they're lagging in. There's an attack for 90. Good attack damage right there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this other Feroki down to the bottom on my bench. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Greninja, assuming I don't lag out. I'm going to go ahead and work on Kirlia. And I'm going to attack for 80 on the Jinx. All right, so Jinx is out. I've got the evolution of Gardevoir down to 10 points. And Mewtwo's coming to the active spot. And so I'm probably going to lose this Articuno. And there's the Gardevoir. Going to go ahead and... My opponent's powering up their Mewtwo. Here comes a 50-point hit. All right, so my opponent's now up 2-1. So I know I've got a 150-point attack coming my way. So I think what I'm going to do is, at this point, I'm going to throw my Feroki up front for a moment. Just need to think through this a second. I'm going to go ahead and attack here. Yeah, I'm lagging really bad again. I can't seem to Let's see, there it goes. And with the 2-0 lead, I'm going to have to pull Furoki back. No matter what I put out there, I'm kind of done for this match. I'm going to retreat back. I'll go ahead and go with my Articuno. Put that energy on. And I'll go ahead and attack, but looks like I'm going to actually lose this match. But the lag didn't help me out in the very beginning. And I'm still kind of lagging, so bear with me a moment. So here comes 150 point damage, and with that, I'll let the opponent go ahead and take me out. They earned that win fair and square. I like to concede if it's early on and it's not looking very good. But something this far along, I'll give the opponent the pleasure of actually beating me before I hit concede. All right, and there's a good match. So again, I'm just doing a sneak peek of this deck that I've been seeing climbing up the tournament charts and placement. I've seen it win a couple of smaller tournaments, and I've seen it as high as the top 5 on some of the bigger tournaments. And so I thought I would give it a try and share this with the community. I know that a lot of people are already very familiar with this deck, but I hadn't personally covered this deck yet, so I thought it would be a good deck to get a video on the channel. So I'll be that video will be coming out at midnight tonight my time, which is going to be in about 3.5 hours. And I typically stream 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I usually stream about 4 days a week for about an hour. All right, so let's try this again. My system seemed to finally started to pick up speed-wise. So I'm going to get Articuno out on the bench, from the bench to the active spot. So again, the goal with this deck is you want to get Articuno powered up fast. Up against the Pikachu, yep, looks like we're going to be up against a Pikachu EX deck. I'm going to go ahead and start with a Pokeball. See if I can get a Furoki or another Articuno. Got a Furoki. Going to use my Professor's Research. See what the other 2 cards I get are. And again, this particular deck is built out to way, was the most common build I found for this. It does have a red card in it, and I'm not a big fan of the red card, but I'm playing it the way it has been doing in competition. All right, so I'm going to, from here, my Professor's Oak got me to Misty, so I don't have the ability to play Misty this turn. I got a couple of X speeds and a potion, so with that, I'm going to end my turn. Okay, so Zapdos EX is a great initial starting wall Pokemon for a Pikachu EX deck. I definitely have that card in my Pikachu EX deck. I love to throw it out front and give me a little bit of time to build things up. Let's see here. So initial attack for 20, but due to my weakness, that's 40. So, of course, a water deck against an electric lightning deck. I'm going to be fighting at a disadvantage here with a weakness. So I'm going to start off by, since I have been lagging, I'm going to make sure I take this Misty nice and slow and make sure I get it to the right spot, considering I lagged out onto Furoki last match. And let's see how I do this time with... All right. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for something just like that to happen. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade this, evolve this card. At the same time, I'm going to go ahead and throw a potion out onto there. I'm going to place some energy on Frogadier. And with that, I'm going to do a Blizzard attack. And this is kind of what we're looking for. We're trying to start strong and fast and kind of get and knock them out before they can really get a good opportunity to set up. So this is a good early mid-game kind of fast deck. It's definitely going to struggle as I get into the later parts. If I, come up against like a Charizard EX in a more of a late game match, I'm going to struggle. All right, my opponent's got Zapdos EX in the active spot with 1 energy. Playing a Raichu, which also has 1 energy, which, you know, does a tremendous amount of damage when it gets its 3 energy. Hoping I can pull a Greninja on my next pull from my deck. Waiting to see what my opponent's going to do. I would assume I'm going to see a Zapdos EX Peck Attack. Nope, they're gonna protect their EX card. It looks like. So they've set up for a retreat, and they've got a Blitzel in the front. All right. They're gonna throw a heal on their Zapdos, and with that, it's my turn. Okay, so let's go with I've got 2 Sabrinas and 2 retreats. I definitely don't need to retreat. So let's go ahead and put a Sabrina out. I think this is pretty much a guarantee that Raichu is going to come out. And I can hopefully start whittling away at and take 2 attacks here. I've got 1 energy. I'm going to apply to Frogadier. And with that, pretty straightforward. I'm going to do another Blizzard attack. Articuno does 80 points to the active Pokemon and 10 points to all the bench. And then with the synergy with Greninja, who can also attack any Pokemon, including the bench, it's a great 1-2 combination. There's a Lieutenant Surge right there that just came through for my opponent. That powered them up to 140 points of damage coming my way. And that took out my Articuno. All right, so 2 points for my opponent. Put my Frogadier in. I really need to... Okay, I'm going to, at this point, I have no other place but to put that energy there. And at this point, I will attack. Two for my opponent, 1 for me. I need my hand to treat me a little bit better. Blitzel into the active spot. My opponent has 2 cards in their hand and a Zapdos, a wounded Zapdos on the bench. I am fighting at a disadvantage because I've got a plus 20 weakness against lightning, so that's not helping. So I'm down to 30. I'm really needing some help here. And unfortunately, I'm not getting it. But I have no other choice here. I don't really need my Misty card. Red card, I could end up helping them. So I'm just going to, at this point, I'm going to have to play my Sabrina. I'm really not getting anything I need. I'm going to go ahead and attack. They should be able to assign their energy to Zapdos, retreat it back, and finish me off with the Blitzel. So I'll give them an opportunity to go ahead and do so. They earned this win. So this deck, I haven't seen it win one of the big tournaments yet, but it's definitely creeping up the charts. Maybe still considered spicy, maybe not so spicy. This is becoming more common. But I've had fun playing it. It's not my favorite deck to play, but I have had fun with it, and especially trying to take the Misty card and use it to your advantage. All right, let's go ahead and fire up another match. My personal favorite deck, and the deck that I did the latest PvP event was a Mewtwo EX Gardevoir deck. Now, I'm excited to see the new Mew EX card coming out next week. That should be really interesting. It has a 3 energy attack that basically can pull any attack from the opposing Pokemon that's in the active spot. So with 3 energy, you could fire off a 4 energy Charizard attack or a 4 energy Mewtwo EX attack. However, I think the real strength of that card is going to come from cards that have 3 energy attacks. Granted, it's the same amount of energy, but the flexibility you get with a much bigger suite of attacks, a bigger arsenal at your fingertips, I think that's really where the strength of that card's going to shine through. Okay, so I've put down 2 Articuno, 1 Froakie. I've got a Pokeball and an X-Speed in my hand. And let's see how I do. Okay. Going up against another water deck. So I'll start with Pokeball. Another Froakie. So I got all my basics out on the bench. I'm not going to play the red card. And I have nothing to do with my X-Speed. And with that, turn 1 is done. Again, I was mentioning a little bit earlier, I'm not a fan of red card. I think there's a lot of good posts and Reddit comments out there and to other streamers as well, pretty much indicating that the math behind the red card for Pocket is not that advantageous as it is for maybe the regular TCG. All the numbers I have seen and all the like statistical analysis and the probability, I think you could boil it down to just 3 percentages. Let me go ahead and make a play here first. So first thing I'm going to do is one goal is with this deck is to get Articuno active. So I want to get a little energy going. I'm going to go ahead and throw a potion on Articuno. And with that, I don't have enough energy to attack. I'm definitely not going to use the red card, and I'm going to end the turn. So back to the red card, I think there's one of really 3 things that's going to happen. Either the red card and your opponent's exchange is going to do no big advantage to you. You're going to break even. Or you're going to get an advantage, or you're going to get a disadvantage. And I think the math is pretty much showing that roughly half the amount of times, 50%, it doesn't really do that much with a 20 card deck. Now, obviously, there's situations and stuff where it does, but overall, mathematically, roughly, say 50% of the time, it does nothing for you. 25% of the time, it does something great for you, and the other 25%, it doesn't. Those are rough math numbers. So with a card that's, say, 75% not helping me out, it's like, why have it in the deck in the first place? Okay, so I'm going to go with the Professor's Research. I'm facing Starmie. I've got a Greninja. Looks like I'm struggling a little bit to get going here. I'm facing another 90-point hit. So I think what I'm going to do right now is play an X-Speed. I'm going to pull that Articuno back. And I'm going to go ahead and at this point I'm going to sacrifice a Froakie. Because otherwise, if I go for one Articuno to the other, all I've done is really distributed the same amount of damage to both and haven't really got me any further along. So let's start there. And I'm going to assign my energy. I know Froakie, I'm just going to plan on Froakie getting knocked out. So I'm going to go ahead and power up my unharmed Articuno. And with that, I'll end my turn. So yeah, red card I haven't been a real big fan of. I don't know if any of you who are on, if you're using red card or not, but you know, I would challenge you to just kind of think about it. I know the simple way that I was able to put it in perspective is if I've got like my opponent does, a number of cards, most likely if I'm sitting on a big number of cards in my hand, I'm not getting the cards I'm looking for. So that red card is actually something that's going to help me out because I can get rid of all these cards that aren't helping me out and get some ones that are helping me out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and it's just not getting the cards I'm looking for. I'm going to go ahead and put my stronger Articuno out. Hoping I'll see my Misty cards, but Misty cards this particular game are buried. I was gambling to see that card. It didn't pop up for me. I don't have Frogadier to get my Greninja on the table. I will go ahead and try to soak up a little bit of my opponent's energy by playing a Sabrina, so they'll at least have to apply an energy and bring it back. But you can see they're kind of doing the same thing I am. They're probably also looking for more of their Misty card. All right, so I got a 60-point Froakie in front of me, and I am going to go ahead and attack for 40. But there for a while, my thought process on the red card was more centered around, you know, using it to get rid of a bigger hand. But the more every time I had a bigger hand and saw how it was helping me out, it's like, you know, I'm doing the same thing. So I went through, I don't have that math genius, but, you know, it's easy enough to find good resources on the internet. And then when I came across all the threads and posts about the red card, it was like, all right, going forward for my decks, I'm not going to put one in. This deck has one in because, again, I'm just mimicking to demonstrate this this particular deck that has becoming more popular and has been placing better in the weekend tournaments. Okay, so 2 Greninjas is great in my hand, but doing absolutely nothing for me in my hand. At this point, I'm down to 30 points on my Articuno. I'm really, again, this is another game that's not going in my favor. Of course, my opponent's been stuck with a larger hand, so red card would probably swap them out into something they're even looking for more. So at this point, I really don't have a whole lot I can do. I'll just go ahead and throw this attack down, and basically I'll end up conceding the match by letting my opponent take out my Articuno. They earned it. So Saturday's video I'll be releasing regarding red cards, so hopefully if you're interested, tune in to watch that. If you agree or disagree, you know, love to hear comments. Feel free to comment on the video and let me know your thoughts. It took me a little while. At first I was kind of very pro red card because I had seen it help me out, or I believe it helped me out in a few instances, but the more I read about it, the more I kind of felt it wasn't that great of a card. This deck, however, seems to have a lot of great potential. It's been a fun deck to play, and with that, another loss. So far, I haven't demonstrated this deck in a positive light, but first game I had really bad legs. These last 2 games, I just haven't got the right hand dealt to me, as I, you know, they say I was dealt a brick, and not a whole lot I can do to get beyond that. But I will be streaming for a little bit longer, just as a pre-sneak peek of my video coming out at midnight. All right, let's see how I do this match. Again, the basic strategy is to Articuno out front active, Misty, power up Articuno, start your attacks fast, early, and hard. Hopefully you can get your double evolution Greninja on the table. And between the two, you can start either double attacking the active Pokemon or some combination of front and back. Articuno and Greninja both have the ability to attack the bench Pokemon. So very effective at helping, you know, whittle down either Pokemon that's retreated, or perhaps putting some pressure on a Pokemon that's, you know, getting powered up with energy or waiting for an evolution or two. All right, so 1 Articuno. I've got 2 Misties in my hand, so that's good from that perspective. It's all going to come down to the coin flips. Looks like I'm going against a dark deck, so I probably should get ready for some poison. I see... So I got a Coughing. It looks like I got a Eakins and I got a Grimer. Now, Muck is one of my favorite cards, and I have a video on a deck that's kind of centered around Muck and Wheezing, which could be what I'm up against in this match. And it's a great deck. It's a lot of fun. The only thing I wish is I wish Poison stacked, but it doesn't. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm definitely not going to play my professor's research because I can only play one supporter card. So I am going to go ahead and assign my 1 energy to Articuno. What I'm hoping for is 2 heads to pop up. There's 1, 2. That's what I was looking for. So it'd be nice to have another Pokemon on the bench for some backup, but with this, I'm going to go ahead and attack with my Blizzard. I'm going to take out the Coughing, do 10 points of damage to Ekans and Grimer. And let's see who my opponent brings forward. I would probably bring Ekans forward myself. If I'm trying to build up a Muck, I'd want to hold off for that. Now, Muck does a lot more damage when an opponent's poisoned. So you're hoping to either get poison from the Grimer or get poison from a Wheezing. And then you can come in and hit so much harder. And that's the beauty of the poison deck that I have built out and I have on the channel is that exact combination. All right, so I'm sitting at 140 health. I have no other Pokemon on the bench. I do have my professor's research that I can ask good old Professor Oak to help me out. Hopefully I'll either get a basic Pokemon or a Pokeball. So let's start there. So before I assign any energy, let's go ahead and see if I can get some backup. Hate to lose the match. Getting taken out and having no other Pokemon on the bench. So I got a Frogadier and a Greninja is good. I already had one of those. No other place to put my energy, so it's going on to Articuno. Only thing I have left to do is a retreat, which I'm not going to do, obviously. So Blizzard attack it is. And my opponent's down 2-0. Again, this is all Misty's the game changer. And there's a lot of people who feel Misty is overpowered. That when they took the regular TCG and kind of revamped the cards to fit into a much more simple play style, you know, I kind of want to agree that Misty could be a little bit overpowered. Again, it's going to do one of 3 things: nothing, or it's going to give you a little bit of improvement, or a lot of improvement, but it's not going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form. All right, Articuno is ready to go. I have nothing else to put on the bench, so I'm definitely struggling there, which is an unfortunate thing. I am going to swap out and do a Sabrina move, because obviously Muck could absorb my hit. So with that, I would have been able to take out Psyduck. So with that, finally get my first win. All right. And it looks like I have time for at least one more match. Always like to send a thanks. See if we can close out on another win. All right. This is the Articuno EX Greninja deck, centered around Trainer Misty. It's a deck that looks like it's gaining popular on the Limitless TCG website for card games and tournaments. I've seen this deck showing up, first just showing up and then now steadily climbing the charts. I've seen some wins for the smaller tournaments and some top 5s in the larger tournaments. Okay, I got an Articuno. Articuno to the active spot. Froakie coming in on the bench. I've got a Misty. We're off to a good start. I'm a little better covered than last time. And with that, let's see. So am I going to be up against a healing deck? Anytime I see a grass deck, I start thinking things like Executor, EX. I think of Butterfree. All right, so Misty, make sure the lag doesn't accidentally drop it on the one. I wish it would let me, they should change it so it lets you select the Pokemon card, not drop it off, because if you're lagging like I was in the first match, completely hosed me on that one. All right, so I got 1 energy. And with that, and the funny thing is if I could have got 2 energy, I should have been able to attack, but that's going to end it for me on my first turn. And you could literally have a one-shot win there if I'd have got enough energy just to finish it right away. So again, this deck is an early game. It's a fast deck. You want to hit hard and fast early, and the longer the match goes on, more at a detriment the deck becomes, because you just don't have the heavy hitters towards the end, like having a Charizard or a Mewtwo, something along those lines. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go with my Frogadier. I'm going to place my energy here. And at this point, I got 2 Sabrinas. Let's 1 retreat. I'll just go ahead and attack. 40 points of damage. Alright, let's see what my opponent... So again, I do have a red card in my deck based on the tournament deck, but not something you'll see me playing. No choice but to bring Frogadier forward. There's a nice heal there. Okay, let's see what I get this time. So I got a Professor's Research to start. So go ahead and take that. Pop that out. Got an X speed. Let's go ahead and use that X speed. Let's bring Frogadier back. Make sure I hit retreat. Bring Articuno back to the front. I'm going to go ahead and evolve Frogadier to Greninja. I'm going to assign Articuno EX my 3rd point of damage. Now Greninja, so I know I can do 80 points, Lilligant's gone. I'm going to go ahead with my Water Shuriken. Could attack either the active or one of the bench, so I'm going to go ahead and attack the bench. As I know my Blizzard has got 80 covered for the active Pokemon. And then even another 10 to the bench Pokemon. Alright, 1-0 lead. Last match of the night. Let's see if it's a good one. And thanks again for joining. I know most all my subscribers are overseas. Probably most of you, a lot of them. Oh, we got a concession there. Alright. So that's it. So that's the Articuno EX deck. So let me run through the build again. And this particular build is not necessarily my build. It is the build that I found most prevalent on the Limitless TCG website for the top 3 tournaments I was looking at. So again, it's Articuno EX with 2, Froakie with 2, Frogadier for 2, Greninja for 2, 1 potion, 2 X speed, 2 Pokeball, 1 red card, which I would suggest replacing, 2 Professor's Research, 2 Misty, and 2 Sabrina. The red card, I would either go with another potion or maybe consider a Giovanni. I don't know if any of you have thoughts on that, but I'm definitely not a fan of the red card. But you know what? That was fun, and I got started a little bit late with the technical difficulty with some internet and lag. Let's go ahead and play again since everything's finally calmed down. I want to make sure I say thanks to Membot there. And let's see if we can keep the win streak going here. All right. It's actually a pretty fun deck to play. Misty definitely doesn't hurt. I'll be curious if the developer will ever go through any type of balancing. If they feel every card in the way they retweak things is perfect, or if at some point they'll make balance changes. I've kind of been curious about that. In a lot of other games, there's always balance changes when you're playing against another player. Be curious how they do that with Pokemon TCG Pocket. All right, so out of the gate, I know I've got weakness on this match to a lightning deck. Pikachu EX in the active spot. It's one of my favorite decks. Should be able to, he or she should be able to build up hopefully their bench pretty quick. They'll be looking to attack fast and hard. This is another early kind of match deck. You know, at 90 points, Pikachu doesn't really have the gunpowder and like one-shot a lot of the stronger Pokemon. But early on, it's a formidable force to be reckoned with. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and I've got a couple X speeds. I got a Sabrina, Frogadier. I'm going to go ahead and give my one energy where I have it. I'm going to pop Sabrina up, and I'm going to force them to have to spend some energy to get Pikachu back into the active spot. Pikachu in the active spot's right where you want it to be, so my opponent's thinking through that. I'd probably throw up the wall. Yep, that's what I would do, is throw up my Zapdos. With a 1 retreat, Zapdos is a great wall. From there, I've got 2x speeds that don't help me. Got an evolution, but what I need is my Articuno and some Misty. So at this point, I will go ahead and attack. Froakie's doing a flop. 10 points of damage. And with that, Froakie's going to be facing a 40-point potential attack coming up. So as a lightning deck player, I always love to come up against the water decks. It's like always this, seeing that extra damage. Now it'd be great if we can have like regular Pokemon with, you know, double weaknesses and double strengths and all that fun kind of stuff. All right, so let's see where I'm going to go here. So I do have a Misty, but Misty buys me nothing. I'm down to 20 points and I don't have anything on the bench. Obviously I'm going to upgrade Evolve. I'm facing a 60-point hit right now. So at this point, I've kind of been given a brick hand. Doesn't help to use Misty. I can assign this energy. Greninjas. I'm not going to survive the Greninja. I can't use X speed. So really, this match is over for me. Guess I'll have to try one more. It'd be nice to end on a good note. So definitely not dealt a very good hand this round. My opponent should be able to just finish me off with the Zapdos. They earned the win, so I'm not going to concede. It's too close to the end. I usually concede when the match is early and I can just tell things aren't going to go my way. Right. Zapdos EX coming through for my opponent. Chandrazard. Then thanks your way. And let's go ahead and try another match. All right. Let's not hope for another brick hand again. So again, just to review if anyone new is on, this is the Articuno EX Greninja deck. It's a deck that I've noticed over the last 5 weeks that I've been tracking and watching Limitless TCG, the tournament site, for a bunch of card games, including Pocket. I've seen this deck slowly kind of climbing its way up. Recently, I've seen it in the top 10. Now I've found it in the top 5. I've seen it win, listed as the first place on a couple of smaller tournaments. And even on some of the bigger ones, I've seen it crack the top 10 and crack the top 5. All right, so what's going on here? It looks like, I wonder if my lag has returned. Waiting for opponent to return. Maybe my lag got sent over to my opponent. That's probably the best card I have, is lagging my opponent. Okay, Froakie headed out to the active spot. So when I saw the trend on this deck, I kind of just wanted to get a video on the channel. I like to have a video of all the different popular decks, and I hadn't had one on this, so I thought the only other water deck I had a video on was my Kings of the Sea, but that kind of built completely different. All right, let's see if my opponent can beat my 1000 HP lag card. Waiting for my opponent to set up. You're going first. So again, let me just review Articuno EX Greninja deck has 2 Articuno EX, 2 Froakie, 2 Frogadier, 2 Greninja, 1 Potion, 2 X Speed, 2 Pokeball, 1 red card, 2 Professor's Research, 2 Misty, and 2 Sabrina. And I'm not a fan of the red card, but it's in this particular deck because this was the most common build out on the tournament from last weekend. But my suggestion, if I was building this deck out for myself, I would replace the red card and most likely go with either a Giovanni or a second Potion. I don't know if any of you out there have any thoughts and want to leave a comment what you would do. Or if you're pro red card, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play my Pokeball. Well, I'm going to attempt to if my system will let me. Looking for Articuno, but I got a Froakie. I have 2 Froakies and 2 Articunos. Oh, and lag must have got them. All right, let's try that again. I would prefer to win the normal way, not via my 1,000 health lag card. Okay, no thanks. Let's try that one more time. Articuno EX Greninja. So back to the red card. I've been sharing throughout the stream tonight just how I'm not a big fan of the card. I actually started out a fan of the card and was kind of touting it. And then I started to realize that every time I had a really bad hand and I had like 5 or 6 cards, somebody would play a red card and I was like, oh, thank you. I could get rid of this brick hand and in turn get the cards I needed. So that kind of got me thinking. I was like, well, maybe I should, maybe red cards, it's great in the larger TCG when you have a deck of 60 cards, but in 20 cards, it really had me thinking, what's the math behind it? So I went out to the internet and did some research, and I found a lot of great threads on Reddit. It's usually one of my sources I like to go to. And, there's some really smart people out there, statistical probability, all this mathematics stuff. And when you take into account, we start with 20 cards in a deck, what we're dealt, what we may or may not play, and what remains, it was pretty apparent that the red card, the math kind of changed, and it kind of shifted a little bit. But there was a kind of a trend with the math, and I'll share that trend in a moment. 2 Froakies on the table. I've got Greninja and a Frogadier. I got a Sabrina. Oh, I got a Mankey Primate coming up. And I love the Hitmonlee. Let's see here. I think I am going to go with... Well, I know I'm not going to attack Mankey and let his Primate counterpart evolution start pounding on me. So I am going to assign the energy like I have nothing else to do. And for the fun of it, since I don't want to waste that energy, I'm going to go ahead and pop Sabrina out. Okay. And I know Hitmonlee is going to go for my bench. That's what Hitmonlee does. And that kind of is similar to this deck, where this deck also spends time between Articuno doing bench damage and Greninja doing bench damage. They have a great synergy to kind of weaken up that bench. So back to the red card. There was, in the end, there was like 3 basic outcomes. Either overall the outcome would be neutral. A red card didn't buy you anything. It didn't hurt you. It just kind of, gave the opponent new cards, and then the end result is it didn't really change their hand that much. That was one of the outcomes. Okay, I've got Frogadier. So first, though, I'm going to place my Articuno down. I'm going to use my X Speed. I'm going to retreat back to the bench. Put Articuno EX, which is base strategy of this deck, is to get Articuno out front. And I'm going to go ahead and evolve the Froakie that's not injured. I'm going to place one of my energy on Articuno. And I can't really do anything else, so I'm going to end my turn. So the outcomes for your opponent is, these are rough numbers. The math kind of was up or down a little bit, but roughly about half the time, a red card didn't really improve your opponent's hand or make their hand worse. So the end result to me is, if it didn't really change them, it didn't change my situation. The end result is 50% of the time the red card didn't buy me anything. There's a good attack. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and place my Greninja. Still haven't seen Misty. She's buried in the deck somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and apply 2 points to Articuno. Greninja, I'm going to go ahead and focus Greninja's attack on Mankey, because I know the Primate. Plus, he's also the lowest one from a health perspective. And then I'll go ahead and do my Ice Wing attack. So the continue on the red card. So if half the time the red card buys me nothing, the rough mathematics was, say, roughly a quarter of the time it would do exactly what I want it to do and make my opponent in a more difficult situation, and maybe stop an evolution, or, you know, take away a professor's research card or something of the sort, and, you know, buy me time. All right, looks like I gotta put Greninja up front. And then the other 25% will actually help the opponent out. So if 50% it does nothing, plus 25% it's negative for me. If literally 75% of the time it's an outcome that I'm really not super interested in, it's like, why use the red card? And so I've decided to take the red card out of all my decks. Okay, so let's see what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to start with a Pokeball. Well, I'm going to try to. And let's see if I get something good here. What's this other Articuno on the bench? I'm going to use my X speed to retreat. Gonna bring Greninja back. I'm gonna put my already powered up Articuno to the front. Where's Misty? Misty, the whole idea of this deck is to get hit hard, fast, and soon, using Misty to power up your Articuno, and she's been nowhere to be seen. I don't know what she's up to, so I'm doing this the old-fashioned way, and I actually have to earn my energy. All right, so Greninja's going to go first, so I'm going to... Marowak EX is a great card. So I'm going to make sure I tag team up on Marowak EX. Okay. Now, I could have gone for the Hitmonlee, but I have a feeling Hitmonlee is going to kind of... Oh, did I run out of time? Oh, goodness. I ran out of time. Too much time with my commentary and trying to explain things. Let's see what my opponent does. So I just gave my opponent a freebie right there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and, since they're calling forth somebody from my bench, bring the other Articuno EX back up. Sometimes I wish there was a little bit more time. I give you just a little bit more time. All right. So, I've got a Sabrina in my hand. I think what I'm going to do is, I want to at least score a point. So I'm going to get that Marowak, move it back. So I've got the Marowak covered with my... I need 2. I need 2 energy. Again, my hand is just not happening. At this point. Well, I will put... They're going to bring that forward. So basically, I can't retreat. So this match is basically over. So I'll just go ahead and do that. And with that, I'll finish. So this match is actually my own loss because I was too busy talking and missed out on one of my attacks that would have taken out their Pokemon. But oh well, it's all for fun. So I'll let them go ahead and finish me off. They've earned it versus just conceding. And there's one of my favorite cards, Primate, with 100 points of damage. Beautiful, beautiful card. All right. Well, I gave that match away. Let's go ahead and, since I started late, let's go ahead and go again. One more time. Started off with some issues. First game, I had some really bad lag, which I haven't really seen before in this game. It's actually been pretty lag-free. That lag caused me to use a Misty card on one of my bench Froakies. Would have been enough energy to take out their active card, so that was a bummer. All right, so let's see how we do. So again, this for those of you who may have just joined in, I'm playing a Articuno EX Greninja deck. It's a deck that I've been seeing consistently improve in placement at the Limitless TCG website. I've seen it now actually listed as first place in a couple smaller tournaments and a top 5 in some of the larger tournaments. So it's definitely got potential. I think you got to, have a combination. You got to be good and lucky. Okay, so let's see what we got going here. So I'm really looking at, of course, I want to use my Misty card on Articuno. I don't have an Articuno to play yet, anyway. But using Professor's research, I'm going to lose my opportunity to play Misty if I happen to pull an Articuno card, which I don't. So, and I'm fighting electricity, or lightning, I should say, which I have a weakness to that. So with all of that, I'll just go ahead and attack for Froakie for a flop for 10 points. So this deck was definitely trending on a positive upward trend for winning, which was pretty amazing to be able to keep up and compete with like Mewtwo EX, Pikachu EX, Charizard EX, and all the different variations that kind of come with those decks. All right, so I do have an Articuno now, so I'm going to place that Articuno down. I need to get Articuno into the active spot, so I'm going to retreat. Articuno is going to step up, or maybe fly up into the active spot. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use my Misty, and we're going to hope and that the lag doesn't get me. There's 2 energy there. To go with my 1 energy. And with that, I will attack. My opponent looks like has a lot of the hands I've had, which a lot of cards in my hand and nothing on the bench. And so unfortunately, the match is over. And so really, the whole idea behind the Articuno EX Greninja deck is to start fast, hit hard, and finish early. So that's exactly its sweet spot right there. So let me go ahead and wrap up with just a quick review of this deck. I want to thank you all for joining. Again, so the deck build out for this Articuno EX Greninja deck, and this is the most common build, not necessarily my build, but the most common build, and I'll give you my opinions again on this build real quick. It's Articuno EX times 2, Froakie times 2, Frogadier times 2, Greninja times 2, Potion times 1, X-Speed times 2, Pokeball times 2, Red Card times 1, Professor's Research times 2, Misty times 2, and Sabrina times 2. Now, throughout the stream tonight, I've been mentioning, been talking about the red card. And I'll have a video out on Saturday about red card, but I'm not a big fan of red card, and I think more and more of the community is also becoming not a fan of a red card. A lot of us probably were early on. But I think we've all benefited from being dealt a brick hand, and we got 4 or 5 cards in our hand. Can't play anything, can't get an evolution going. I want to, playing Mewtwo EX, and I want to get my Gardevoir going and feeding Mewtwo EX, energy, and I'm stuck. I don't have a Ralts to get onto the bench to get this whole process started, but I got Gardevoir and I've got Curlia in my hand, and somebody plays a red card, and I'm like, whew, that's exactly what I need. I was stuck. So I'm not a big fan of red card. There's a lot of mathematical science, so to speak, floating out like on Reddit, for example, that's showing the red card's utilization and the reality of how well it works in Pocket with only 20 cards and with what we're initially dealt and typically what we can initially play, that, really maybe the card benefits you about 25% of the time. Roughly. So if you're going to put a card in or 2 in your deck that only really helps you out 25% of the time, that's like worse than a coin flip. You'd actually have to have double coin flips, both heads, as an example. And most of us probably wouldn't want to take something with those type of odds. So with only a 25% chance of really benefiting you, in this case, this particular deck that's out on tournament play, I would probably replace a red card with a second potion, or maybe a Giovanni card for a little extra damage. So that's just my personal thoughts. I want to thank everyone for joining the stream tonight. I'll be back on again tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be previewing my red card video, and maybe we'll play some matches with the red cards and maybe a couple of matches without, and just kind of review and talk about it. I want to thank you again for joining, and I hope everyone has a good rest of their morning, a good rest of their afternoon or evening or night, depending where on the globe you are. And as always, let's battle.